Here we do 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 do. Why it be Christmas
On the night
Day?
before Christmas, back when I was 11, I remember waking
Oh, I
up in
thought
the
this
middle
was
of the night.
Nightmare
in
Files for
anticipation.
a second.
This was normal for me every year. I was always the first person in my family that was awake. That year was the first time, though, that I wished I had just stayed in bed for a few more hours. I sat up and turned on the small TV at the end of my bed to try to pass the time, but like most kids at that age, I couldn't think about anything other than my presence. I watched TV for a couple of minutes and then I muted it as fast as I could because I thought I heard something. Silence filled the air as I did my best to listen calmly. But when I heard someone walking around in the living room, I couldn't contain myself. I figured that it was either my mom or dad and that I could get a head start on Christmas if I ran out of my
It
room
was
while they
old
were
Jolly
awake.
Saint Nick.
Hopped out of bed and opened my bedroom door before running out into the living room, excitedly yelling,
I thought
"Merry Christmas!"
you better say I'm all hopped up on
Only I didn't get the
goofballs.
whole phrase out before I stopped myself. Once I was far enough down the hallway to see the tree and all of the presents, I also got a look at the person in the living room. And it wasn't my parents.
Boy.
I stopped in the middle of the hallway and my eyes got wide as a strange man, dressed in all black, stood up straight and turned to see me. I tried to call out for help, but I couldn't find my voice as the man turned toward me and started walking forward. He reached out with black gloves on his hands, and through his thick, dark beard, I could see his horrifying smile. He started to shush me as he got closer and went to pull his hands on my shoulder.
Oh man.
But before
He
he could touch me, I
froze.
finally managed to scream.
Okay.
He pulled away from me for a second. I thought I surprised him. But once he realized that my parents were going to wake up, he came at me again.
Oh wow, he just
The
attacked
man
you.
grabbed me by the back of the neck with one hand and then placed his other over my mouth as he told me to shut it. I could feel the tears welling up.
I'm surprised he
in my
didn't
eyes.
just try
I
to
tried to
leave.
get away from him, but he had a strong grip on me that I couldn't squirm out of. I had no idea what the man was planning on doing with me. He clearly didn't expect to get caught, so he started looking around frantically. After a minute of holding my mouth shut, the strange man finally looked back at me and told me that if I stayed quiet, he would just grab his bag and leave. He said if I made even a single noise, though, he was going to hurt me and whoever else was home. And I believed him, so I shook my head yes in agreement and planned on letting the
Nah,
man
he full of
pick up
shit.
stuff and leave.
Nah, he full of shit.
Thankfully, though, my dad must have heard the man
Yeah.
talking or maybe even been woken up by my scream. But as soon as the man let me go, my parents' bedroom door swung open and my dad came charging out. He grabbed me and pushed me into the hallway toward my mom, who pulled me into their bedroom and then chased the man out of the house. The police came a little while later and made sure that the guy wasn't hiding anywhere close by, and they also realized that he hadn't grabbed his bag before my dad chased him. In the bag, they found a few of the presents that my parents bought me along with some other stuff from our neighbor's
That's
house.
crazy. On Christmas Day?
The officers checked on my neighbors and they were fine. They actually didn't know that anyone had been in their house. And come to think of it, I wouldn't have known either.
Oh, he
if I
broke
hadn't
into
woken up for
somebody
Christmas.
else's house.
All I know is that after that,
That what he said?
my parents come into my room to wake me in their house. Two of the presents that my parents bought me along with some other stuff from our neighbor's house.
Yeah, he broke into their house
The
too.
officers checked on my neighbors and they were fine. They actually didn't know that anyone had been in their house. And come to think of it, I wouldn't have known either had I not woken up for Christmas. All I know is that after that, my parents come into my room to wake me up on Christmas, not the other way around.
That's crazy to break into somebody's house on Christmas Day. Well, Christmas morning.
It was Christmas Eve, and my wife and I just put our son Ethan to bed. We had a lot to get done that night, including wrapping a lot of the gifts that we got for him and setting it up to look like Santa had come by, so I wasn't paying much attention to my phone. When I finally got a chance to look at it, I was surprised to see that our neighbor from across the street had texted me. I thought it was weird because he had never really reached out through text, but I figured that he must have been busy. The text said, "Hey John, my wife wanted me to ask you where you got your Santa from, and if you could give us an estimate, we'd like to hire him next year." I had no idea what he was talking about. "What Santa are you talking about?" I responded. And a few minutes later he replied by saying, "The one that stopped by before. My wife said she saw a guy dressed like Santa on your porch. We assumed you hired him to visit Ethan. Can you send me a link to the website you use? I was really confused because I didn't hire anyone to visit the house. We didn't have the money for anything like that at the time.
Yeah, what? People
I asked
do
my
that?
wife if she knew what they were talking about, but she had no idea. We tried to figure out who it could have been, but we got nothing. Eventually, my wife said that it was probably just a Santagram or something that one of our coworkers or friends set up as a joke, and we must have missed it. We got back to wrapping the presents, and we both heard a noise coming from Ethan's room. I thought it was just my son moving around in his bed, but just in case, I wanted to check on him. I didn't want to risk him coming into the living room and seeing all of his presents and ruining Christmas. I walked down the hallway and slowly opened the door to his room, and I saw that he was still in bed. I looked over to the nightstand where he left his note for Santa. As I was working out the best way to sneak into his room and take it, I thought I saw something move out of the corner of my eye.
Oh, fuck. Let's do any
I
of
turned my
kids.
attention to Ethan's window. Nothing was there, or nothing that I could see at first. I kept looking at the window for a minute and noticed 2 little fog marks on it, almost as if someone's face had been up against it. I tried to convince myself that Ethan most likely just got up and looked out the window to see if it was snowing. But just to be safe, I wanted to check it out. I walked to the front door and told my wife that I was just going to walk around the house real quick before stepping out into the darkness. We didn't have time to decorate much, so the only light around was coming from the Christmas lights and lawn ornaments across the street. I walked around the house toward Ethan's window, but I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. I made my way around the rest of the house, making sure to check the shadows for anything that may have been hiding. Even though I didn't see anything, by the time I made it to the back door, I could feel my heart racing. I finished checking the yard as fast as I could and then headed back inside, happily thinking that everything was all right. My wife and I finished everything that we had to do and then got ourselves ready for bed. It was already 2 a.m., and we knew that we would be woken up by Ethan soon, since he liked to get up at 5 in the morning every year on Christmas. But that didn't stop us from trying to get a few hours of sleep. I closed my eyes for a while, hoping to get
Dude
tired
already
enough
in the
to pass
house.
out, but after a little while, I was forced out of bed by my cell phone ringing. I left it on the dresser on the other side of the room, so by the time I walked over to it, the call had already ended. I looked at the phone and saw that it was my neighbor again. But before I could check if I had missed any messages, he was calling again. I answered and asked him if everything was all right, but was horrified when he said no. I asked him what was wrong, but before I could get the words out, he was telling me to call the police. What? I asked. Call the police. I forgot to unplug the lights and just went outside and saw him by your window. I turned to look at my wife and mouthed to her to call 911. I asked my neighbor who was by my window as I made my way out of the bedroom. That was when he told me that he saw a man dressed like Santa standing outside of Ethan's window.
Oh, boy.
I was about
He's
to
a
walk out the
pedophile.
front door, but quickly turned and ran down the hall to check on my son. I opened his door as fast as I could and was shocked when I saw him sitting on his bed putting his boots on. "What are you doing, buddy?" I said as I rushed in and sat in front of him. He looked at me and said that Santa told him that they were going to the North Pole
Oh,
and to
boy.
go out
How
into
old
the
is this
yard to see
kid?
the sleigh. I looked over to the window and saw that it was all fogged up again. That's when my wife came into the room. She was on the phone with the
We're
police
going to
who
the
were heading
North
to our
Pole,
house.
boy.
By the time they got there, though, the man in the Santa suit was nowhere to be found. My neighbor said that he saw him running down the road and then shortly after saw an old SUV drive by really quickly. Other than that, though, there was no sign of him. The police terrifyingly explained to us that we were lucky that our neighbor called. If Ethan had gone outside, there's a very real chance that man could have taken him without us even knowing.
Maybe because my parents they instilled in me very early, like, you don't talk to strangers. Otherwise, we're going to beat your ass. Because it's I never really did anything like this. Like, oh, I'm going to the North Pole. Even when I was like 4 or 5 years old, like, we've never done anything like that. Because I knew that if I ever got back home and ass whooping was waiting.
I'm not a religious person, but Christmas Eve Mass has always been a big deal for my mom. So every year I try to go with her to make her happy, even after what happened back in 2016.
Oh, what
I
happened
had
back
just
in
dropped my mom
2016?
back off at her house after Mass and decided to stop by the local 24-hour diner before going back to my apartment. I checked my phone while I ate and saw that a package that I was waiting for finally got delivered by Amazon earlier that day. I was pretty excited because I finally ordered myself a new computer for Christmas and was planning on opening it a day early. So when I finished eating, I didn't waste any time getting into my car and heading back to my house. The roads were pretty empty, as they usually are on Christmas Eve, but all of the lights on the houses made the drive feel a bit less dreary. They also lit up the driveway to my apartment pretty well. At the time, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment on the first floor of a house that had been divided into 3 apartments. That means I was used to getting home and finding that someone had parked in my spot, so I wasn't too surprised when I couldn't pull into the driveway because it was already full. I did my best to find a good spot on the street out in the front of the apartment to park, and then started gathering my things to walk inside. When I stepped out of the car, though, I saw that there was something moving around on my front porch. I couldn't tell what it was at first, but once my eyes adjusted a bit, I could see someone walking away from my front door. They walked down the stairs and toward the driveway. I didn't say anything at first because I couldn't see who it was, but once they stepped into the lit up driveway, I noticed that they had a package in their hand. "Yo!" I yelled out as I slammed my door shut and started walking over to the driveway. I looked at the guy and told him that I thought he had my package, and asked if I could look at the name on it. He didn't say anything, though. He just looked at me. "Do I know you, man?"
You get caught.
I asked him since I couldn't see his face behind the scarf he had wrapped around his head. Again, he stayed silent.
He's
That was
like,
when I took another step forward and reached my hands out to grab the package from him, because I was certain that it was my new computer. The man took a step back and pulled the package away from me. Before I could try to reach for it again, I felt the car door that I was standing next to slam into my back.
oh,
I was pushed forward by the force of the door and turned around to see another 2 guys had gotten out of the
oh
car that was
shit.
taking up my parking space. I backed up from the group and
Oh,
tried
they
to keep everyone calm. I told them that I thought everything was just a misunderstanding.
Nah.
I just wanted my package back. They weren't interested in anything
Yeah, they
that
don't
I
give
was
a
saying.
shit. It's more of them
Before
now.
I knew it, the man with the package was making his way to the other side of the car, and the 2 guys who stepped out were lunging toward me.
Oh
I
wow.
tried to protect my face after being thrown to the ground, but I couldn't do anything to stop them from stomping down on me. It felt like someone was literally jumping up and down on my rib cage before
Damn.
the pain ended up making me pass out. I'm not sure what happened between that moment and the time that I woke up, but by the time my eyes slowly opened, their car was gone, and so was mine.
Oh
I struggled
damn.
to
They
get
took
up from the
his car
driveway
too.
and began looking
Jeez.
around for my keys. They took everything. They got my keys, my wallet, and my phone. I stumbled over to the porch that the man had taken my package from and fumbled around for the spare key that I kept outside before calling
Damn.
the police. I reported everything that the men had stolen and described the car that was sitting in the driveway. But the officer I spoke with was honest and said that the likelihood of me getting the package back was small.
How about my
Honestly,
goddamn
though, I was
car?
more concerned about the car by
Yeah.
that point. The officer explained that I was lucky to be alive. He said he worked a robbery gone wrong last Christmas that was very similar, only the victim didn't make it out of the altercation alive. Ever since that year, I've learned to severely limit the amount of packages I get around the holiday.
Yeah, people will do that shit. They be looking too around the holiday. They be like, "Will you get packages?" Or just straight up attacking the like the delivery drivers. Like they did that recently, I think. Uh, well, I read recently. I don't know if that was here though. That might have been in another state. Cause I read news sometimes from other states. Whereas an Amazon driver got attacked. He was dropping off a package at somebody's house and walking back to his truck, and people pulled up and just, I guess they just either were following him or they just happened to randomly see him and decided, well, this one, and just attacked him and took. If I remember correctly, they took all the packages out of his truck. I was like, damn. And that shit, yeah, you gotta be careful. I know when I worked for Amazon, they said that you're not supposed to leave packages that are in view of the street, but most places don't do that anymore. Like unless you are like in a building, like an apartment building, or in a house that's like right on a street, like I mean within like feet of a street, they usually just leave it there, or they'll sometimes like I have a bush in front of my house. I have a few bushes actually, and they'll leave it sometime behind that, or my cars they'll leave it behind my car, or I remember one time they left it over there between my garbage cans. Um, I saw that was also on the corner of my house. But but yeah, but a lot of places like I remember UPS used to leave that little sticker on your door like "Sorry we missed you," and I heard apparently they don't really do that much anymore. Some people said they do that, but not like I've had UPS drop around here even when uh, there are no cars in my driveway. They leave that shit right in my front door, and then they leave. I guess they kind of, cause I know. Uh, Remember when I worked for Amazon, they said that if the neighborhood that you get like a feel for the neighborhood, it looks safe, then you can leave the package. But then you're not thinking about because in some of these cases, people are driving to other neighborhoods to and just driving around and say, "Oh, I see a package," and they just get out. They may not stop right in front of they get out because I've seen, you know, ring cameras and stuff. People have car pull by, and then also someone will come walking, and they'll just grab the package and just run, and they'll run in the direction that the car pulled or something like that. Was probably that car because it was driving real slow, trying to see who got packages. You gotta be, you gotta be careful. I've seen people, I've seen videos of people who got packages, and people pull up and see them. They're like, "Oh, we can," because they got a bunch of packages, so they're trying to pick up. Some people try to pick up all of them at once and go in the house. So they're like, "Oh, it's an opportunity to take their shit and get in their house and rob them." You know, because I've also heard that happening here, like in Chicago, where people are coming home and people like driving around looking to see who, or they'll see someone pull into a neighborhood and they'll follow them and see, when they're going into what house they're going into, and they'll run out and try to run in the house behind them. Somebody told me that happened to them, but they closed their door. They said they didn't even see the person. I guess they got in the house faster than the criminal thought. And then when they closed their door, they heard like a boom, like somebody kicked their door. Like, you remember he told me, he was like, oh shit. Man, if I close my front door and I was like, boom, like somebody kicked it. I'm like, and then he said he looked through his I think he said he looked through his blinds or something right next to his door, and he saw somebody running away. As they were like, well, if a door don't open with that one kick, then just run because it was so loud. He said it was so loud. I was like, that's crazy. But I had somebody like run at me. Uh, I was at Jules. I like to go to Jules late at night, and this was like I don't know, like 10 or something. And I'm coming out, and I saw the guy walking around the parking lot. I think I told this story before. Saw the guy walking around the parking lot, and sometimes during the day, sometimes people be out there um, asking if you got like change, or I seen a woman, not at that one, but at a different grocery store. That chain closed down. called Ultra. Closed down like a while, years ago. And she she used to walk around that one with her baby, asking if we could, like, if I could give her like some money. And I was like, can't you no money, but I remember I gave her like some of my bananas and some. She had a daughter, so I gave her some like open up, because I got some fruit gushers. And I gave her a few of those out of there for her daughter, and I gave her something else. But anyway, back to this. This is sometimes be homeless people over there, and they might ask, "Hey, you got some spare change?" Stuff like that. And I saw this girl. I just saw him walking around, and I went in the store, did my thing. Coming back out, he was in front of the store. Now he was walking around the parking lot when I went in. Now he's like in front on the side of the store. Well, now I'm coming out of the exit door. Now I go to my car, and I look up, I look up. I happen to look up because I would go out at night, so I always like I put stuff in the trunk, and I look up and kind of like gauge and then keep doing what I'm doing, and I kind of keep looking because you never know. People come up on you because they think you occupied, and then hit you in your head or some shit. And I happen to look up, and then I'm gonna look over the trunk. This dude is walking towards me, and then he was like walking toward me kind of fast. And I took like I don't know how many bags I had. Just took it and just threw it in the trunk, grabbed the thing, and I was probably right next to one of those things where you put the cards in. And I just threw it. Oh, I don't even think it went in there thinking about it. I just threw it towards it. Slammed the truck, went around to the driver's side. This dude started hauling ass towards me. Like he's like fucking. I mean, I feel like some Terminator type shit. Like he was like hauling, like running toward me. And I was like, and I was just like, oh, I opened the door, and I like as I pretend like I reached down, and it came back up. And then when I did that, because I was like, maybe I'll pretend like I'm thinking myself, maybe I'll pretend like I had a gun or something. He'll stop. Otherwise, I could just jump right in my car, because I didn't. But I was also thinking I don't want him to like jump in front of my car, hit my car. You'd be surprised like how fast your mind things be going. When you're in danger. And when I stood back up, he stopped. And when he stopped, he only stopped for like a second. He was like, and then just took he was like if he was running towards me and went 90 degrees and just started running in the opposite direction, running in that direction. And I was looking, what the fuck? And he started like running and just ran. He because I was he ran the full length of the parking lot because I was all the way on the opposite end. He ran that full length across the road and over into Target's parking lot. And he just kept running like over there. And I was like, what the fuck? And I got in my head because by that point I got in my car and I could just see him still running. I was like, yeah, man, you gotta be careful. You gotta have I had a knife in my car, but I didn't even reach to get it. I was like, well, so I pretend like I got a gun. So I just reached down real quick and then stood back up, like kind of like my hand in front of me. And then that's when he stopped and like took off because there was no cars really in front of me, so he could see, full view of me, in my car. Like that, man. When I left there, I was like, I started noticing like my heart was beating fast. I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't got no gun in here. I don't even have a BB gun. I didn't. I got a BB gun now, but because I just ain't got around to getting a gun yet. But even though I could, I got the damn card to get. I don't have a concealed carry, but I got the FOD card or whatever you gotta have in Illinois to purchase a firearm, so I can buy one. I just haven't yet. But I got some BB gun. I was like, hey, them motherfuckers hurt too. Like, I just got to they were kind of a cheaper option. But for right now. Cause I was like, I want to get a gun, but I kind of want to get a gun that I want. So I was like, I go, and I didn't feel like going because it's a gun shop. Closest one to me is over in Indiana at a what's those things called Cabela or whatever. And I didn't feel like going. And then plus they were charging too much to it. For I want to get a Glock, they're charging like it's like 800 or something dollars, 850 or something like that for a Glock. My brother was like, don't get that shit. He's like, you can get one for like 600, maybe for $400, probably the cheapest. Cause he said I think he paid like 500 for the one he got. Like, he got multiple guns. He has all my dad's guns too. Cause I was like, it'd be easier for him to, cause he's a cop. So it'd probably be easier for him to get those switched over to his name than for me to get it switched over my name. Because I can't just have his weapons and then they're not registered, especially if I try to take them to like a gun range. You know, some places ask, they like, hey, you got proof that that is your firearm? You know. So I think I went to a gun range once with my dad up here, but I was living in Oklahoma at the time, and we just happened to be up here at the same time. And he asked me, I want to go to gun range. I could have sworn he asked him if he had a permit for those guns. Because he had his, well, he had his 30-30, but we didn't end up shooting it. We only shot the, because he had a Beretta. And I forget the other handgun he had, what it was called. I'm not sure, man. It might have been a Glock. I'm not sure. I know that I almost got that because they said if you it's not beat their score, but if you hit the target 10 times in a row with any gun, then I forget what they give you. They give you like some little prize or some shit like that. Damn, what was it? I forget, but I hit the target 9 times because I missed the very first shot. I don't know what the fuck I was aiming at. I didn't even hit the target, the little silhouette. It completely missed. I was like, I completely missed the goddamn target, and then hit it 9 times. And he's you almost had it. And then my dad shot. Then we ended up leaving. I said, I guess that was it. I'm not gonna shoot anymore. Oh, but anyway, hope you all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up down below. Make sure to subscribe, and if you hit that bell, if you want me to notify when I upload new videos, comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.